Welcome to episode 213 of Build Your House Yourself University by BYHYU. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson, and together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can make informed decisions and build quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. Average lumber prices have more than doubled from mid-April to late August 2020. Prices moved from a low in April of $348 per thousand board foot to over $900 per thousand board foot in August. This price surge is adding over $16,000 to the price of the average single-family home, according to the National Association of HomeBuilders. And it's adding several tens of thousands of dollars to higher-end homes. The extreme increase in lumber prices have been made worse by tariffs of more than 20% on Canadian lumber imported into the U.S. The U.S. typically gets quite a bit of lumber from Canada. Given these historically high lumber prices, many homeowners and builders are currently wondering if prices are likely to decrease back toward normal, and if so, when? Folks are further questioning whether now is the right time to start a build or whether waiting is a better option. Before we get into some information that will help you understand the situation a little better, I want to give great big thank yous to I'm a Fan number 2 and Allie Fox 40 for our latest reviews in Apple Podcasts. I'm so blown away by your kind words. I can't thank you enough and tell you how much I appreciate your encouragement. Thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about lumber prices. COVID-related stay-at-home orders in several states caused many lumber mills in the U.S. and Canada to stop production this past spring. The mills that were allowed to stay open faced challenges keeping workers safe on the factory floor, and that resulted in decreased output and factory closures for days or weeks at a time. In addition, some of the mills that stayed open decreased their operations because industry experts predicted a big drop in construction and demand for lumber due to the pandemic. But that prediction, it was wrong. Because of record low interest rates and more time at home, homeowners began to evaluate their current houses, and there's been greater than expected interest in home improvements and building new houses. Demand for lumber and other building supplies has been so strong, it's been hard for lumber mills to catch up as a result of the lost production time because of the shutdowns. And not only did they lose time, they lost workers. Some of the people who were laid off of the lumber mill jobs found other employment, and that's been making it difficult for mills to now find enough people to staff their facilities. And not all lumber mills are back in business. Some mills are still closed because even though lumber is currently in high demand, some companies want to make sure the virus is completely under control before they make the commitment to reopen. Skeptics actually wonder if lumber mills do have the capacity to produce more lumber, but they intentionally haven't produced more lumber in order to cause lumber prices to increase. Those price increases, skeptics say, are being used to replenish profits lost due to decreased demand and shutdowns early in the pandemic. But those in the lumber industry insist that their inability to keep up with demand is what's driving the high lumber prices. Someone who works in the lumber supply chain commented on a forum on the National HomeBuilders Association website, and they said there really is a lumber shortage. He said mills were working at only 50 to 65% capacity, and that some completely stopped logging and shut down entirely for a short time. So, what's going to happen with lumber prices? Will they ever go back down to normal? Well, prices are still currently very high, but that can change overnight. And in fact, we've seen a slight decrease in lumber prices in the first few days of September. The hope is that lumber supply will catch up with demand by the end of the year as furloughed mill workers return to work and construction and demand for lumber slow down in the fall and winter. As more lumber is produced, prices should decrease. To help with getting lumber prices back to normal, the National Association of HomeBuilders has recently reached out to the administration, urging them to encourage domestic lumber producers to ramp up production to decrease shortages. They've also asked the government officials to make it a priority to work with Canada on a new agreement that would end tariffs on Canadian lumber shipments into the U.S. If lumber prices react now, as they have historically, prices will go down. The question is not if, but when. Let's look at a historical example. In June 2018, there was a peak in lumber prices due to a combination of bad weather and transportation issues. When conditions allowed for corrections in the supply chain, lumber prices dropped quickly and were within the range of a 5-year average by August. So the prices peaked in June, but they were back to normal by August. Another less dramatic example was in early 2019. Because of lengthy and extreme periods of wet weather across the South, trees were not harvested as readily. Lumber supply went down and prices went up. But as lumber prices usually do, the prices went back down after a few months. Unfortunately, because many mills are so far behind, production of lumber may not be back to normal until well into 2021. Future prices on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange predict lumber prices at $660 per 1,000 board foot in January 2021 and prices at $587 in May. As a reminder, the prices were at $900 per 1,000 board foot in August. Now, these are only predictions. Prices could be lower than expected, but they could also be higher. In light of significantly higher lumber prices and the volatility of the current market, the National Association of HomeBuilders recommends that builders include an escalation clause in their contracts with clients. That clause, the escalation clause, would assure that if lumber prices increase by a certain percentage, the homeowner would be required to pay the extra costs. So, if you're planning to sign a contract with a builder in the near future, look for that escalation clause and consider whether that's something you're comfortable agreeing to. Something else to think about. If you're trying to decide between using a small local custom builder or a large national production builder, and you need your home completed as quickly as possible, you might want to consider hiring a well-qualified, large regional or national production builder. Those large production builders typically have more buying power to get supplies ordered and delivered and at a better price due to their larger wholesale orders. But nothing is typical in this current home building market. So compare prices and building schedules of several builders before making a final decision. Okay, so that was lumber. What about other building materials? Are they being affected by the pandemic? Well, unfortunately, the answer is yes. Not only has the pandemic affected the availability and prices of dimensional framing lumber, but as you might guess, the prices and supply of wood decking and engineered wood such as OSB wall sheathing and engineered wood structural beams have also been affected. There's a shortage of those materials too, and as a result, a significant increase in pricing. There have also been COVID-related challenges in manufacturing and distribution of almost all other building materials, appliances, and electronics. Things like cabinets, flooring, furniture, roofing, sheetrock, lighting fixtures, large and small kitchen appliances, washers and dryers, heating and cooling equipment, plumbing fixtures, and televisions and other electronics. But from what I've read, unlike lumber, these other items that we need for our homes won't have a significantly higher price tag because of the pandemic. There may be a slight increase in price, but the main issues with the materials I just named are long lead times and delivery delays. At least that's true as of the recording of this podcast. Many factories in the U.S. and abroad that manufacture those products shut down or slowed down due to COVID. So they're also trying to catch up with customer demand. For things manufactured overseas, there's an added disruption because of pandemic-induced slowdowns of shipping. Typical lead times are now up to 8 weeks or more for appliances and electronics, depending on the brand you specify. Many brands say that an order placed in early September may not be delivered until the first of the year. Again, it's brand specific. Some appliance brands and models will take longer to be made and delivered than others. In general, those brands whose appliances and electronic parts are made further away will likely have the longest lead times. And keep in mind, even appliances that are assembled here in the U.S. might get some or most of their parts from China or other countries. And if that's the case, those items will also be delayed. The thing to do is to order materials and appliances much earlier than you typically would. Alternatively, if you don't have the time, you can be more flexible in your choices. Many builders and homeowners have had to forego ordering their first choices in appliances and fixtures and electronics, and instead, they've ordered their second or third choice in order to get items on time. You have a big decision to make if you're planning to start a new build or framing soon. You can move forward knowing your lumber bill could be tens of thousands of dollars more than you anticipated. You can pay that out of pocket, or you can ask the bank for more money or decrease your budget in other areas by choosing less expensive flooring, appliances, and lighting, for example. If you want to get into your house sooner rather than later, this may be the choice for you. Keep in mind, though, that almost everything for home building will take longer than usual to come in. Further contributing to slowdowns in home construction is the increased demand for subcontractors. The building industry in many regions was short on tradespeople even before the pandemic, and the current increase in demand for those tradespeople may slow down your project even more. And although you might decide to move forward immediately with your build, you'll probably encounter delays anyway. Now, on the other hand, if you're in a position to wait to build or frame your house, you might decide to wait and take the chance that lumber prices will decrease back toward normal during the fall and winter. Instead of starting your project now, you can wait a few weeks or months when lumber prices will hopefully decrease. And in a few months, other home building materials will also likely be able to be manufactured and delivered in a more timely manner. It's a difficult choice, and there's no real right or wrong answer. You have to choose the lesser of two evils based on your specific situation. I have had so many delays with my project due to the inherent difficulty of my site, record rains, shortages of professionals and tradespeople in my small city, and soil surprises that necessitated a foundation redesign. So all I want to do is move forward. As soon as the foundation was completed a couple of weeks ago, we called to order lumber, but we were stopped in our tracks by the prices. So sadly, but wisely, I think, we've decided to wait to see if lumber prices will fall in the coming weeks. My slab has been poured, and I was excited to get some wood up. But for my situation, I can't see paying tens of thousands of dollars more just to get started and finished a couple of months early. As much as I want to get into my house, there's no real reason to rush. It was a difficult decision because we've been waiting so long just to see a real structure. But I'm going to wait. So what will I do while I wait? I'll keep doing research on home building products. I'll keep doing podcasts for you. Keep narrowing down my design choices. Keep praying and keep reminding myself of how fortunate and blessed I am to even be in a position to build a house. If construction delays are the biggest problems in my life, and right now they are, I really have nothing to complain about. Nevertheless, I will be so happy when 2020 is over. It's been a challenging year, and I'm ready to move on. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope this information has helped you decide whether to start your build continue going or to delay it. Whatever you do, I'm wishing you all the best. And I hope you'll join me again next time for another episode of Build Your House Yourself University by BYHYU. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.